Excellent. Well, thank you all for coming here this morning. Hands up if you're excited about today. Excellent. Hands up if you're nervous about today. A little bit. Hands up if you're not sure why you're here. Excellent. Everyone knows why they're here. I sat in on the session last night and I can't remember the last time that I saw so many talented athletes from around the country all cheering each other on. Every time I've seen you all play, it's been at national tournaments where you've been fiercely competing. So it was really exciting to actually watch you cheering each other on last night and showcasing what Australian basketball has to offer. So very, very big congratulations to Taylor and the team for organising this event for you girls, because it is about creating incredible opportunities for you. A bit of a spoiler alert. Who here follows the NBA and has been watching the final series? A few of you? All right, I'm just about to share with you that the Knicks have made it through to the conference finals. How good's that? You should all be excited. That is the first time they've made it through in 25 years. So if they can make it through to a conference finals, anything's possible. In fact, 25 years ago, when they made it to their last conference finals, they played Indiana, who beat them, who they now play. So we're going to change the records there, hopefully, and make it through to the NBA championships. But enough about my dreams. We're here to talk about your dreams, okay? So I'm going to ask you a very simple question. What is your biggest basketball dream? What gets you up early in the morning for those shooting sessions? What keeps you in an ice bath for an extra 30 seconds just because you've had a hard training session and you're getting through your recovery? What keeps you going in a really tough game when it's tight and motivates you to get across the line or help your team get across the line? What's your biggest basketball dream? Kayla, what's yours? You want to play for the Opals? Fantastic. That's a pretty big dream. Very good. Who else? Who can I pick on? Crystal, what's your basketball dream? Play for college, get a college scholarship. Excellent. That's why we're all here. Anna.
Play at college.
Play at college. Excellent. Very good. Who here, show of hands, thinks that it takes a lot of hard work to get to that level, making the Opals, getting to college? Excellent. I'd be interested to understand what everyone's definition of hard work is. What your definition, what a coach's definition of hard work is, what your parents' definition of hard work is. Because everyone's going to have different opinions, and not always are they backed by fact, by data, by science. Too often the perception is that hard work just equals more training, which is in fact incorrect. How would you feel if you knew that all of the hard work that you were putting in, the longer hours training, could actually be working against you in the longer run and could jeopardise your dream of making the Opals, playing in college? It'd be pretty devastating, wouldn't it? So what we're here to do is help you understand the importance of perhaps training smarter rather than harder, because there is a difference. You can still train hard and get the most out of every hour you spend training up to a point, and then it starts to become counterproductive. So, Sportly is a business that we started back in 2018, working primarily with high-performance programs. The Sportly platform itself was developed in conjunction with Basketball New South Wales, and since then we've gone on to work with athletes across multiple sports, multiple disciplines at different levels, ranging from representative level through to state, national and international across a range of sports. Our primary objective is really to help you girls, emerging talent, young talent within Australia, achieve their goals by keeping you on court for longer and spending less time injured, out of action on the sideline. We work primarily with your coaches, your clubs, your state associations, high performance managers, strength and conditioning departments, strength and conditioning people, professionals to implement athlete wellbeing programs. So monitoring you as an athlete to make sure that you're not at risk of what we call overuse injuries. Overuse injuries, what are they? Any idea of some examples of overuse injuries? Anyone got any ideas?
Stresses.
Yep, stresses. So stress fractures are a really common overuse injury. Any others? Anyone had any stress-related injuries or overuse injuries?
My back.
Back, stress fracture, yep.
I've had 3 in my ankle.
Ankle. Okay, we're picking up a theme here, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. For females in particular, the majority of overuse injuries occur from the waist down in your lower extremities. Male athletes typically is upper extremities. So we'll get onto that. Any others? Tendinitis, sore joints, bursitis, and the capsules in between the joints. These are all common stress or overuse related injuries. Shin splints is a really another common one. So Sports Medicine Australia defines overuse injuries in a couple of ways. There are a couple of key factors. First of all, there's no single trauma to cause the injury. If you sprain your ankle, you roll your ankle on the court, you break your leg in a freak accident, you fall over and hit your head, these aren't examples of overuse injuries. They're an example of specific trauma. The other key component of overuse injuries is that they are cumulative and occur over a period of time. So what happens is you typically push your body beyond certain limits, and as a result you suffer all of these what are called micro traumas in your muscles, in your ligaments, so tiny little tears, and what happens is the fibres start to weaken over time, or in your back or in your bones. All of the stress and the pressure that you put on them weakens the areas and can cause pain, inflammation, and all of these will keep you out of the game. So the 2 points to remember here when we're talking about overuse injuries is that they are the result of multiple actions, repetitive actions, and occur over a period of time. Primary causes for overuse injuries. First primary cause or the contributing factor is repeated movements. So you could have really efficient movement, the way that you run, the way that you land, the way that you move, the way that you take bumps. it could be really efficient. It's the best way to do it. However, if you're continuously doing that from a very early age, over and over again without any proper recovery or breaks, then you run a much higher risk of overuse-related injuries. In fact, you're 125% more likely to suffer an overuse injury if you specialise in a particular sport before the age of about 14 to 15. So when we talk about specialisation, this means you are competing in the same sport for greater than 8 months of the year continuously. So if you're playing basketball all year round for 12 months of the year without taking a break, no time off, you're at an elevated risk of overuse injuries. Now remember, our objective is to get you to college in one piece. Doing all the hard work now and getting that offer is fantastic, but you still need to be able to take the court, you still need to be able to play when you get there. The other two factors are sort of intertwined, they're linked together. Scaling training load properly. So training load is something that we look at a lot within Sportly. So this is the individual's preparedness to take on the workload that they're about to participate in from a physical perspective. And the other area is insufficient recovery. So this is doing all of the boring stuff after you've been training, after you've been playing, to prepare for your next session. So when you come off court today, how many of you will spend time stretching? How many of you will spend time cooling down properly? Making sure that you are looking after your bodies. So let's have a look at the difference between males and females. Normally we run these sessions for state performance programs or professional programs where we have both boys and girls in here, but let's just focus on you for the time being. There's not much evidence that has been conducted, or much research that has been conducted, that looks at the fundamental difference between boys and girls at a high school level across specific sports. There is increasing research that's taking place, but to date not much has been done. The research that we have been able to source looks at high school students conducted by the Journal of Athletic Training in the US, looks at high school students across the country and isolated basketball as one of the sports to investigate. And what they've found is that girls are 182%, have a 182% higher chance of sustaining an overuse injury than boys. So you are a lot more likely to sustain overuse injuries than boys during that high school period. As I said before, primarily boys will sustain upper body overuse injuries, so shoulders, upper back, whereas girls will typically sustain hip, leg, and lower body related injuries. There are 5 primary reasons for those differences. First is anatomy. Girls typically have wider hips through here than boys, and the impact of that is that you have a different angle of your leg set. So the angle of your legs are different to boys. What that means is your landing, the way that you move, the way that you run, it places different pressure on your lower body joints, particularly your knees. A lot of what we focus on here leads to ACL type injuries. ACL injuries typically aren't overuse injuries because there is a specific trauma that they result in. However, overuse is a large contributing factor towards ACL injuries, so just keep that in mind. So anatomy. Ligaments. You girls are inherently more flexible than men. What that means is that the ligaments around your joints are looser. So you don't have the same level of stability that goes into those joints that boys do. Equally, the muscle density, particularly in your legs and below your waist, is not as strong, or it's not as dense as boys. Therefore, you don't have the resilience or the protection in those joints to prevent injuries, lower body injuries, or overuse injuries in the lower body. So that's something to keep in mind when you are doing your training. Never skip leg day. It's really important. It's the engine room for everything you do out there. It's also designed to protect your joints. Hormonal changes. You have much higher levels of estrogen in your body. What that does is it prevents the development of muscles the same way that testosterone does in males. Another reason why you don't have that strength and stability. Nutritional. There are deficiencies in a lot of girls of vitamins like B12, B3, folate, iron, magnesium. Protein is another one. Protein is a big component in building muscle. So maintaining your nutritional balance is another really important factor for prevention of these types of injuries. And finally, movement. The way that you move is different. The way that you run is different. Girls tend to land more flat-footed, whereas boys tend to land more on the balls of their feet. So that places greater stress through the legs and the knees, once again resulting in greater pressure on joints like your ACL. Looking at some research from the Sports Medicine Journal, American Journal of Sports Medicine, you can see here about 41% of all overuse-related injuries in girls are in your knees. Lower back, pelvis, calf, shin, ankle. So majority, 92%, are all from here down. In terms of what that means for your time on the court, over 20% of the overuse injuries resulted in time away from the game greater than 29 days. So that's more than a month on the sideline that could be prevented through proper management of your body. About 40% of female athletes who sustain overuse injuries could be spending anywhere from 2 weeks through to much longer periods of time. I've seen a lot of injuries in this country across multiple states where girls in particular have had stress fractures in their back that have kept them out for entire seasons. And we want to avoid that, don't we? So, I'm going to do a short exercise with you. The girls that have come from the Basketball New South Wales program, you've already done this exercise in some of our SPP sessions, but bear with me because it's important for the rest of the girls here that are from other states as well. So what I want you to do is think about your normal training week. What does it look like? How many hours a week do you spend active? So think about all of your rep training, maybe state training, NBL1, youth league training, school basketball training. Let's talk about your gym sessions, any specific cardio that you're doing, any SPP, state-based programs. Have a think about school PE, so any physical activity, other sports that you might play. Think about all of the hours that you spend on a weekly basis being active. And I'm going to ask you to answer that just by a show of hands. Okay. You all got a bit of an idea how many hours a week you spend training? All right. So, show of hands. How many of you are from or less than 5 hours a week? Good. If anyone put their hand up for 5 hours or less, I'd be worried about you being here. But 5 to 10 hours a week. Oh, okay. 10 to 15 hours a week. Put them up so I can see. Yeah, a couple of you, some of you. 15 to 20 hours a week. Yeah, a few more. What about over 20 hours a week? Any of you? None? Okay. Cool. So based on the research that we've done across hundreds of athletes in Australia, basketball, overseas, you can see that on average, for the ages of 14 to 17, girls will spend, 45% of girls will spend between 10 and 15 hours a week training. Boys, 42%, 10 to 15 hours a week. The elite athletes, which would consider you all as elite athletes, tend to migrate towards the far end. 18% of girls are training 15 to 20 hours a week, and boys 22%. Girls, 6% of you are training in excess of 20 hours a week, and for boys, 9% of you. So that's how many have we got in here? On average, there'd be 2 or 3 of you in here that would probably be training in excess of 20 hours a week when you actually factor in everything. But the majority of you are going to be in that 15 to 20 hour age group. So you are all in that 14 to 17, or the majority of you are in that 14 to 17 age group. I'm going to show you what a typical week looks like and some of the things that you should be keeping in mind. So for a lot of athletes, if we split the season into 3 phases, pre-season, in-season and off-season. And this is how you should be looking at your blocks of training or your game time throughout the year. Pre-season, you're coming back from doing very little. Typically, you'd be ramping that up to about 12 hours a week. The majority of that is coming back into rep training. You should be using that time for strength and conditioning work, really preparing your body for the season ahead. So hitting the gym, building muscle, working on conditioning. You've probably got some training, so some state-based training, depending on when your seasons run. You've probably got some private training that you're doing as well, individual training, any local comp that you're playing or other organised competitions. That's what a regular week looks like for most athletes. Once you start to get in season, the splits change a little bit between other commitments that start to crop in. So you might have school games, you might have more competitive organised competition, reps has started, it's not just training. So you're starting to overlay some additional activity sessions. And then the off season, once again, you start tapering back down. So that's what it looks like for most of you. There's ratios that we typically look at. Things like organised sport to free play ratio. We'll get into it a little bit at the end, but it's important to encourage, and this is me talking to parents now, it's important to encourage free play, not just organised structured games. Free play is where you develop a lot of your creativity on court. It's where you're able to just enjoy playing the game. I was sitting out here watching those young kids, those little kids, remembering my daughters when they were small and running around at that size. None of them were thinking about how much they were scoring. They were just out there having fun. It's important that you incorporate that free play into your training regime. Diversity to specialised. So we spoke before about the risks associated with specialising too early. It's important that you incorporate diversity into your training regime. Playing another sport. Who here plays another sport other than basketball? Handful of you? Yeah? Any swimmers? Anyone do any swimming? Yeah. Swimming is a great sport to increase your diversity, but also give you a full body workout, cardio and strength. It's excellent. Low impact, I'd recommend it. And then training to strength and conditioning ratio. So this is looking at how much S&C work you're doing to prepare your body versus how much you're using your body on court. So keep that in mind when we're starting to build training plans. What happens when it's approaching nationals? What happens when you have big tournaments coming up? Typically, your in-season training hours start to increase. So getting close to that 18-hour mark and beyond, depending on who your coaches are and what they expect of you. If you're of this age, you're starting to play both youth league, maybe you're playing NBL 1 as well. You've got under 18s as well, so you're playing multiple games a week. You've got multiple training sessions a week. You need to be mindful of how that's impacting your bodies. I guarantee you, come Sunday evening, you will all be absolutely knackered. You will be exhausted from the weeks that you've had. You need to recognise that and be prepared to have proper days off to allow your bodies to recover effectively. Otherwise, your risk of injury increases. What commonly happens when we start to see this is that, what do you think the first thing to go will be? Free play? No, typically still do the free play. Gym. Strength and conditioning. That's the first thing that gets cut every single time. Now, what happens when you pull all of your strength and conditioning work? You're not preparing your body for what's coming. So you run actually at a higher risk still. So it's important to try and make sure that you've got balance across your training for the entire season. And this is one of the things that we're very focused on within the platform. It's giving you the tools to be able to see when you're at an elevated risk of overuse injuries and how to have conversations with your coaches to manage them, or how to have conversations with your parents to manage them. Okay? The most common periods for overuse injuries actually occur during that pre-season phase. So this is when you're ramping up from a low base. If you ramp up too quickly, you typically complain of niggling type injuries. I'm feeling a bit sore, my knees are hurting, my back's hurting. I haven't been doing that much, so I'm starting to get into it. So be mindful of your pre-season. Focus on a lot of your strength and conditioning work during your pre-season. Another high risk period is returning from an existing injury. You've done an ankle, you've been off it for 2 weeks, you're coming back, and you haven't really done anything on this side, your body's out of balance. There are further injuries that you can sustain as a result of that imbalance. So just bear that in mind. So don't take just my word for it. You've got specialists like Dr. Niro Jayanthi, who is one of the leading specialists or researchers in youth sports health in the US. He describes the current situation with athletes leaving high school, going to college in the US, as athletes arriving there broken. It's a pandemic that's sweeping not just the US, it's every youth sport in the country here, globally, it's the same situation. Increased professionalisation of sport at a college level and beyond is putting increased pressure to actually try and work harder to get there. And unfortunately, a lot of our bodies just aren't prepared, once again, for the journey that you're about to embark on. So keep that in mind. But it's not just at a high school level. Adam Silver, Commissioner of the NBA, back in 2019, indicated that athletes that are coming from college into the NBA, they're seeing the same wear and tear on their bodies as veterans who have been playing in the NBA for 10 years. So young players are taking on more and more at a much earlier age than people who have been there for a long time. In fact, the NBA has started to implement guidelines or restrictions on training for young athletes, young basketballers in particular, in the US, and have been doing so for a while now, to just try and limit the number of injuries that they're seeing as a result of overuse. Some of the risks that are associated with overuse injuries, not allowing your bones to fully develop due to a delayed onset delayed onset of puberty. By training too hard too soon, you're not allowing your bones to fully develop, which can impact you not just now, this season, but for much longer in life. Too much too soon, so large changes in your training load very quickly over a short period of time rather than progressive can lead to overuse-related injuries, tendinitis, stress fractures. The mental aspect of burnout is one that's often overlooked. So how you respond to your body being constantly fatigued, the motivation to keep going is impacted. And this is another thing that we see, high discontinuation rates of sport, particularly women, young girls going from 16 to 18. We see a lot of dropouts just because the load is increasing over that period of time. And then specialisation, which we've spoken about a little bit so far. Some guidelines that are put out by the Australian Institute of Sport to bear in mind. Their instructions or their guidelines are that no junior athlete should be participating in more than 16 hours of physical training per week. So if you are doing that high end of 15 to 20, there is an elevated risk of injury during that period. So making sure that you are trying to bring that in check. They also talk about an age-appropriate level. So anecdotally, you should not be training any more hours a week than you are old. So if you're 14 years old, then 14 hours a week is the number of hours that you should place as a cap on yourself. 15 hours, 16 hours. Okay. Free play, we spoke about trying to maintain a 2-to-1 ratio of structured play to free play. So that means for every game training session that you're doing, you should be doing something else. So PE counts as free play typically. It's a lot less structured. Pick-up games, local scrimmages, these types of things. Just other sports. Diversity is we've spoken about, and also recovery, proper recovery. I can't stress the importance of recovery enough. So, how can we help you? As I said, we work with a lot of high-performance organisations like Basketball New South Wales. The girls from Basketball Tasmania have started to be exposed to the Sportly platform. As athletes, you also have access to it now through ATC and through the work that Taylor's doing. So you're able to go in and monitor your training loads within the platform. If you would like some guidance, some instruction on how to do that, please get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to be available to you all throughout the week or the 2 days here or after if you need to get in touch with me. Communication, so for those of you that end up going on tours or events with ATC in the future, there's a communication method there through the app to be able to chat with Taylor and the coaching team. And then personalised insights. So on a weekly basis, as you're training through the platform, it will generate reminders, insights for you around how you can better look after your body and things to keep in mind for next week as you're training. We also work with a lot of coaches. So all of the coaches from that are being exposed to you girls playing will also get access to all of the training, the strength and conditioning data or the testing data that you performed through last night. You'll be able to get access to reports as well through the platform. Coaches in general are able to see as an entire team how your training is going and how to manage the loads and moderate the sessions that they're conducting to better suit you. Okay? So everything that we are doing is really about looking after your bodies and making sure you spend as much time on the court as possible. So before we wrap up, are there any questions? No? Fantastic. You're all ready to get out there and show your stuff? Cool. Well, I wish you all the very best of luck. Go out there, play hard, and I look forward to watching you over at college.